Welcome to this webinar on the CIVITAS Peer Program 2018. My name is Melanie and I'm working for Eurocities and for CIVITAS Initiative. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with my colleague Mathilde, and you don't see him here, but we have also the support of Andrea, and he's welcoming the participants in the room. Just to let you know, so this video and this webinar is recorded so that you can play it if you need. And you are all muted to avoid background noise. And if you have questions, at the end we will have a question answer session. You can use the chat. So on your screen, you have the left-hand side, you can have a chat and we will monitor the questions. So maybe I can just check that you can hear me properly. If you can just write something so that we know it's working. Yes, thank you, Paul. So hopefully you should see also the screen. We will have a presentation to explain you briefly what is CIVITAS first and why we have this peer-to-peer program. And important thing, we will put this, so the slides and the video on the website of CIVITAS, of Eurocities, and we will send the link to the participants so that if you miss something, you have the documents. So I think we can start, yeah? And just to let you know, so we have the contact details from Mathilde and from me at the end of the presentation. So we can start briefly. I see the names of the participants, and I know that many of you are familiar already with CIVITAS and the CIVITAS initiative, but it might not be the case for everybody. So we just added one slide on CIVITAS to explain what is CIVITAS. So you know that CIVITAS is a European initiative working for cleaner and better transport in cities. It's a network of cities involved to improve sustainable mobility. And because most of you are involved in the project, you know that CIVITAS is working with different projects, research projects, innovation projects. So that's what is CIVITAS. Very briefly also, you might know that CIVITAS is organized with different, we call them thematic measures or thematic thematic approach. They are all listed here. So you have 10 of them. I'm not going to say all of them, but for example, we have the clean fuels and vehicle thematic approach or thematic. We have also car independent lifestyles or transport telematics. I'm mentioning that because in the peer-to-peer program that we're implementing, these measures are key for you or key for the participant because they are guiding you in which area you want to work. And it's also part of the application form, so that's why I'm mentioning it. Over the past more than 15 years now, because CIVITAS starting in 2002, cities have implemented more than 800 measures. So that's quite impressive. And I'm mentioning this also because then it means that it's a way for participants in this peer-to-peer program to spot the measure implemented by CIVITAS or other projects and try to use them and experience them also. In terms of CIVITAS success story, we just mentioned a few of them. So here you have, for example, Tallinn or Bremen for car sharing. One I could mention also is Zagreb, because in 2017, so this year, we organized the first televisit of the CIVITAS 2017 program in Zagreb. So it's just to show you that this success story can also become your success story in some way. So that's briefly about CIVITAS. I'm just briefly mentioning that because I added this slide because I know that many of you are from this Innovation Action Project, so Eccentric, Portis, and Destination. So these 3 Innovation Action or projects, they are of course invited to apply in this call for peer-to-peer exchange, and we try to encourage them even more to join us because you are supporting the activities. And also it's a way to cross-fertilize the project, because in some of your projects you have also study visit or work placement, and you have also some funding. So that's a way to combine the activities. So it was just a slide to emphasize this aspect. So that's all for CIVITAS in general. And now I'm leaving Mathilde to present you with the call of next year or this year.
This year. Okay, thank you very much, Melanie, and good morning, everybody. So let's dive into the call of this year. So as Melanie said, we launched actually last week the 2018 CIVITAS Peer Exchange Program, and in particular a call, as you've seen, for hosts and visitors. But what is it all about? So here you have the key features of this call. So the idea is to organize in 2018 in this framework 3 study visits and 1 work placement. And so any European city can apply to both become host or visitor in one of those. The idea is to reach out to more than 30 cities through the different opportunities. As I said, they will take place in 2018, and the deadline for this call is 17th of November. I also included here the 2 links where you will find all the material, all the documents, and the application forms, obviously, that you will need to apply. But let's go a bit more in detail. So, as I said, there will be 1 work placement organized in 2018. But what is it exactly? The idea of a work placement is to have one-to-one visits, so 1 city hosting and 1 city visiting. It's a very hands-on learning experience, so in a thematic area where a city leads on, and it normally focuses on concrete topics. And it's organized to respond to a specific challenge that the applicant city is facing. The idea is to really work closely one to the other and to transfer so practical knowledge and to get specific guidance and expertise on a specific topic to, of course, achieve an objective back home. More concretely, the work placement that we envisaged, so as I said, we'll see 1 city visiting a leading city in a specific area. We will be able to fund 1 person from the visiting city, and we're looking for staff in charge of policy and project development in the specific area that will be tackled during the visit, of course, to make it efficient and fruitful. And we're looking for participants that have a good command of English, because, of course, all the work will be done in English, and also the reporting and the communication with us will be in English. So that will be ideally the best situation. What are the benefits of both hosting and visiting, participating as a visitor to a work placement? So for the host visit is, of course, a showcase of innovative solutions, so a good opportunity to really show to other cities what they're doing on a specific field. It's, of course, an opportunity to exchange experiences both ways, so it's a bi-directional approach. Of course, the visiting cities will get practical guidance and also a direct access to the key people in that city and to the best practices that are carried out in that city. It's also an opportunity for the host to get a feedback on the work they're doing. So that's also a very valuable, I believe, approach. And also will be an opportunity for both parties to network and to know better each other. Ideally, the duration of a good work placement should be from 2.5 to 3 days to really allow time to get to know each other, to know the processes and so on. And from our side, we will really support you through visibility opportunities. So, for example, to feature an article on the CIVITAS Move newsletter, but also on the CIVITAS website, We will also encourage both us and visitors to apply for the CIVITAS Awards when relevant, and also to potentially feature in the CIVITAS conference program. I also included other examples of external publications, such as Cities Today, because when possible, of course, we will also facilitate the visibility in other communication channels. In terms of budget, that's also quite important for cities, of course. So we have some funding available. In the case of the work placement, the host city can get up to 500 euros reimbursement for logistical costs, for the meeting rooms, for the catering, for example. Whereas the visiting city, so we said one person from one city can get up to 700 euros to cover for the travel and accommodation costs. The funding that we are making available is only in the form of reimbursements, meaning that it's not a fee that we can give to cities, but it's really made on the basis of the real costs that will be incurred, and of course upon presentation of all the relevant invoices and receipts. But in any case, we have a financial document, a financial chapter, I would say, in the guidelines that we've prepared, where you will find all the details, all the process explained, and also the eligible cost and what is not eligible. And in any case, we're always there to support you. If you have doubts, we can clear up any doubt. If we now move to the study visits, so if you remember at the beginning, I said we will organize one work placement and 3 study visits. Maybe I should explain why there is this difference.
Well, and it's flexible also. And that it's flexible.
Yeah, of course it's flexible, but the idea to organize more study visits than work placement comes from the needs assessment that we carried out at the very beginning of the CIVITAS satellite project, so the project run in the CIVITAS initiative. So we investigated among the different projects and cities that are part of the network to understand what was the most needed form of peer learning that they wanted. And so we get as a response that study visits are much more appreciated. And so we adjusted the program in a way that allows for more study visits than work placements. But of course, we can always adjust that if we get different feedback from you. So 3 study visits will be organized in 2018. And the difference from the work placement is mainly the fact that the group that is participating is much larger. So we envisaged up to 10 cities to participate. And the approach this time is a bit more holistic, in a way that, of course, there will be specific topics addressed, but there will be much more attention given to the strategic vision around those measures, the city's strategy around urban mobility. So to give a context, if you want, around the measures. The idea is always to keep it very interactive because, of course, there will be many participants and this will allow for a deeper discussion. And, of course, the key implementation challenges will be discussed and everything will be addressed in the context conditions, as I said. Of course, the study visit compared to the work placement will also have a bit more varied, if you want, a range of activities, because it will have presentations as we are used to, but there will be also site visits or more roundtable discussions that will be it will be less the case for the work placement, where really the 2 cities are meant to work close together on the daily activities. So about the characteristics of the study visits, so as I said, there will be up to 10 cities participating in each study visit, but only 3 out of 10 will get funding. That's because we have budget limits, unfortunately. Again, it's very important that the people that are participating are directly involved in the policy or project development and that have a good command of English. Here again, the benefits that both hosts and visitors can get is to have a European recognition, because of course hosting a group of 10 cities will give you a good visibility and acknowledgement across the European landscape. It will give visitors, of course, practical knowledge. And both the visitors and the host, in a way, will benefit from a consolidated, a solid peer learning methodology that will help you implement, of course. It will be a capacity building opportunity for both hosts and visitors. Will give, again, networking opportunities, of course, that's always very, very valuable. And here again, but even more, I would say the feedback aspect is very important, because the host will really have the opportunity to get the impressions and the suggestions from the visiting cities. And having such a big group of participants, of attendees, will really make it even more valuable, even richer, I would say. The duration here again is around 2.5–3 days, what we advise to give enough time to have the different aspects developed and discussed. And here again, we will support, as we did for the study visits that we've organized this year, will help disseminate the event in the different communication channels that you can see there. For the study visit, the budget is slightly different, because, of course, the host city having to welcome a delegation of a larger delegation will get up to 700 euros for catering, again, and meeting rooms and these logistical aspects. Whereas the visiting cities, so 3 people in total from 3 cities, will get up to 700 euros, again, for travel and accommodation costs. And again, here it's a reimbursement kind of funding, so it's not a fee that we can provide. Here I just wanted to give you an overview of what are the envisaged tasks that both hosts and visitors will be expected to carry out in the organization of work placements and study visits. So in terms of program development, of course, it will be the host, the one developing the agenda and also providing a kind of travel and accommodation guide. We will always support you in each of those steps, but of course the input will come from the host city. The host will be also in charge of contacting the relevant people in its city and to brief them accordingly to the objective of the visit, to collect and prepare the PowerPoint presentations, and of course to arrange all the logistics. On their hand, the visitors will also be welcome to input on the agenda, to give suggestions, to advise on specific topics they would like to look more in depth. They will prepare a list of participants, so will indicate the people that will participate in the visit, and also a little background information so that everybody is prepared and they know who they're going to meet. And they will, of course, prepare for discussion, because we want even the visitors to come prepared and to have all the relevant information in their hand to be able to discuss, to have a fruitful discussion with the host. In terms of dissemination, of course, both hosts and visitors will be invited to use social medias to tweet about the visit, to take photos, and when possible to organize press releases about the event, and also to give presentations once you're back in your city to other departments to disseminate what you've learned from the visit, to do the same also in your CIVINet, for example, and also with our help also at the CIVITAS Forum. And then there is also a reporting part that we think is quite important. So for both the work placement and the study visits, we have envisaged a short, it's not a very long document, but it's a reporting document that we ask all the participants to compile at the end. And it's meant to help, of course, our work, so to make it better in the future, to improve it, but also to help the host city to adjust or to improve the projects they are carrying out. And also, of course, to help you identify the areas where you think you can, the areas that you can, of the projects, the initiatives that you can transfer in your city, to have, let's say, a moment where you can reflect about what you've seen and to see what can be replicated back home. So I think maybe it could be interesting for all of you to have some tips and tricks about a successful application. So what do we look at when we select the applications? Since we have run the program last year, we have some good examples, things that were pretty valuable in the moments of the screening. So if you're applying as a host, of course, it's important that you mention previous experiences you had in hosting and organizing visits. Of course, this will mean that you have a certain experience and you have, you know how to do it, let's say. It's important that you list the projects and initiatives you would like to present so that we have a better idea of what you want to do and how you want to do it. Also, indeed, it's important if you already can think of the methods, format you would like to apply for the visit, don't hesitate to share it with us because it will give us even a more interesting overview of how you plan to do it. Include background information because this helps us understand the framework where the city is working. And also, if you can do so, include also a communication plan, how you intend to communicate about the visit, because this will for sure enrich your application. If you're applying as a visitor, then it's quite important that you describe pretty well the challenges you're facing, what are the difficulties that you're encountering in your city so that we can really understand better what's the perfect matching for you. Include, please, the background information about your city, what's the situation in terms of your memorability or with regards to the specific topic you are interested in. Explain us again how you intend to use and transfer this knowledge that you will acquire back home. So this will really give you good points because the real aim of this program is not to have just a one-shot visit, but to really start replication process. So if you can already think of it, do include it in the application because it's important. And then finally, again, tell us how you intend to communicate about the visit because that's also quite important for us and for you and for the host visit, for the host city. So very roughly here, and to conclude also and to give space then to questions, the selection process. So as I said, the deadline is on the 17th of November. After that, we will start by selecting the host, of course, the offer, let's say, for work placements and study visits. Then we will select the visitors, so the applications that are really good and that are very specific.
Maybe worth mentioning funded and non-funded.
Yeah, as well, of course. We will do a full selection and we'll award the funding to the ones that will rank higher. And then we will do the matching. So we will try to really make them match one to
Needs and
another.
expectations.
Exactly. And the idea then is to have the visits between March and October. So just for you to understand that this process might take a bit long because it's really, at least last year, it was not so obvious to find the perfect match. And so it requires a bit of also discussion with you, because of course we will come to you with a suggestion of visit where you've been selected, but we want to have your approval. So
we want to have happy members.
of course. So that's all from my side. So I would say let's open to questions if you have any. I think they can also.
I will monitor the chat, but during the presentation we had already some questions, so I clarify by replying in the chat. Maybe we can just re-explain or mention some things. So there was just maybe a recap on the funding, because so the visiting city receives some support, the host city receives some support also, and basically the funding is depending on the size for the host city of the delegation they receive. Of course, if they receive 10 participants, they receive a bit more support than if they receive one. So that's the basic idea, and then the amount is in the slides. So that was one question. We had a question, and I think it's worth replying and explaining that. It was a question by Paul, and thank you for asking it, because we have the case right now in the work placement. So for the work placement, we reimburse the cost of one person. But of course, if you have 3 persons willing to go to this work placement from the same host city, because it's one city selected, it's possible. And I think also it makes sense. We have the case right now in Prague that the vice mayor is going with an expert and a director of a service, and the 3 of them are visiting, but we reimburse only the cost for one person. So if you are in this situation, it means that you will have to cover from your own budget, but it would be also useful, because then you have not just relying on one person, even if it's useful, but then you have really you can have a small team. So I would say it's up to 3, because then it's really a big delegation and it's more complicated. Yeah, and one clarification I wanted to bring also, Mathilde mentioned it, but maybe it was we have a lot of information. It's concerning the CIVITAS Award. I know that many of you were last week in the CIVITAS Forum, and hopefully you attended the award ceremony. You might remember that there is a category on so the CIVITAS Award for Take Up, I think it's called. And it's basically on this exchange. So it means if your city is taking part to an exchange, to a peer-to-peer program, so a study visit or a work placement, and you are implementing or developing some measures or policy or anything related to this visit that you have done, then you might also apply for this award, and then you can win the CIVITAS, prestigious CIVITAS Award. And finally, one clarification also from me concerning the evaluation report and the impact report. So the people attending study visit and work placement are required to write so an evaluation form for the participant to the study visit and a small impact report for the work placement. And you might think, yeah, it's additional work. So first, it's not that long, because the evaluation form, I think, is just 1 page. So it's really short. The impact report is maybe a bit longer, but still it's not so long.
Reasonable.
Yeah, it's reasonable. And especially for your project, because I know many of you are involved in CIVITAS project, it's really useful for your reporting, and it's also useful for us for communication and for reporting, of course, but I would say more for communication, because then it allows us to just make, I would say, basic things, but to make it visible what cities have done, what they have learned, and how it's useful. So it's just something I wanted to underline, that it's not just paperwork, but it's useful for us. And now this leaves you. This has given you a few minutes to to ask questions. So if you have additional question, I'm checking the chat now, but I don't see anything.
Yeah, I think they can also, if you feel it's better, you can also unmute yourself on the left side of the screen. And
I have a question.
We have more questions. Yeah. So
yeah,
waiting for it.
Suspense. I'm just checking the participants. Yeah, I don't know if we forgot something. No. Yeah. So the question about the coordination of events and study visit. Yeah, you will try to link the study visit. We will try. If we will try to link the visit to already planned event like the ECOM and the forum. I would say in theory, yes. Then it depends on the host city. What we have done last year is, so we selected the 4 cities, but these cities, they were not cities where there was already an event planned. Because we think it makes more sense to select the city on the basis of the quality of the application rather than the fact that it's already hosting another event. We had, I think, Torres Vedras applying, if I remember. So we could have had a visit linked to the Civitas Forum, but then it's really heavy, I would say. The Civitas Forum is already 3 days, so if we had a study visit or something like that, it might be complicated. So I would say it depends on the event. It depends on the city. So it's not a full yes and not a full no, but it makes sense. So I don't know if it's replying fully.
Well, if I can add, maybe if this suggestion comes from the host, so if you are applying as a host and you want to link it to an event that you're organizing anyway, well, I think it makes sense to consider it. And if you are happy to do so, well, we don't have anything against it. I mean, it's
For example, I think the ECOM, where's the ECOM next year? Uppsala. So I think the ECOM is in Uppsala next year. So I know Paul from Stockholm. But we could maybe envisage something.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah. So of course we can make the link when possible, when relevant. Maybe while you think about other questions, and also don't hesitate to unmute yourself if you want to comment on something or so on. But maybe it's useful for you to know what were the study visits this year and the work placement. So to give you an idea, the first one in May was organized in Zagreb. It was a study visit and it was about cycling. We got very positive feedback on that one. There is one that is ending today. So while we speak, it's a work placement organized in Prague, as Melanie mentioned before, and it's the city of Sofia. Visiting the city of Prague on the topic of public transport operations. We will have one next week in Reggio Emilia in Italy, and it's going to be about, it's a study visit and it's about school mobility management, so quite specific but very interesting. And I think also the fact of having such a narrow topic made it very interesting to the applicants. And then finally, in mid-November, we will have another study visit that will conclude the Peer Exchange 2017 in Funchal, Madeira. And it's going to be about, again, public transport and telematics, so the use of also ITS in public transport. And also will give us a bit insight into mobility in a touristic destination. So as you can see, the topics are quite varied. You are really free to choose the topic that you think you're more interested in or you're more advanced in. And we will try to match it with the right cities.
I'm just checking the chat, but maybe something I could mention, because it's a question we had last year, I think also. If you are planning to prepare an application, I would say the more precise you are, not especially long in terms of words, but precise, the more we can try to answer your needs. And also, if you are, but I cannot promise, but if you have also some ideas on, so first the topic, we are working more using the approach of the topic, that if you want to really learn something on cycling, infrastructure development of bike cycles, cycle paths, for example, then you have to mention it in the application. And if you know also some cities that are good for that, then we can maybe make the match. But I would say don't expect to go to some specific cities, because if these cities have not applied as host, it might be challenging for us. So, yeah, but just if you know about, or if you have some ideas from your partner cities also in your project, Portis or Eccentric or Destination, that could be something. They are good for that. You can mention that in the application, so that it's always better for us.
And maybe if I can add, another thing that came to my mind is also maybe the possibility to link those study visits and work placement with the study visits that you are organizing in any case in your CIVITAS project. So of course this is another way of organizing visits, and this could maybe also come on top of the ones that we will organize. So we can also look into this. Don't hesitate to flag it up to us or in the application, and so we will try to see how to best accommodate it.
Yes. So
any other questions?
Yeah. It's the moment if you have questions.
I also include here, yes, you can see
the contacts.
Our contacts. We will in any case upload the presentation, as Melanie said, in the Eurocity, on the Eurocities website and on the CIVITAS one. But yes, if you feel like, I see maybe Esther was writing something, or if you want to speak as well.
Okay.
Yes, please. Do inform the eccentric cities. We will be happy to see, because I know you're doing a lot in that project. So.
And what else? So on this call, you will see something very basic, but we haven't mentioned that. You will see there are two forms: an application form A for the host city, and application form B for the visiting city. You can, or any city can apply as so both visiting and host city. It's not impacting the score or anything. It's just that you're showing that you want to visit and you want to host. So that's on the CIVITAS website. You have application form B and A, and you have also the guidelines explaining everything about the work placement and the visit. So the process, the timing, the retro planning, the funding, everything.
And the different forms, yeah.
And the different forms. Yes, I think that's all for the moment. So I think we are.
Maybe another message from Giorgio.
Yes.
Okay, no,
thanks.
It was just thanks a lot. Thank you.
I think it was clear if we have no additional question. So as mentioned at the start, this webinar is recorded or was recorded, so it should be available soon. Maybe not today,